Okay.
All righty, thank you. So this is Councilor Bill Solms, and I'm calling this regular meeting of the Ledyard Town Council Finance Committee to order. Present are Councilors Ingalls and Ryan of the Finance Committee, as well as Councilor McGrattan. Also Roxanne Marr, our Administrative Assistant, Don Steinhoff, our HR Director, Eric Treaster, resident, Zach Willis, volunteer firefighter, and I think Assistant Deputy Chief. Do I have that right? And no, that's your dad. I take that back. So volunteer firefighter. Did I say Marcia Hancock, Finance Director? And also I see Steve Holyfield just calling in. So with that, are there any citizens who wish to speak? Eric, this would be your time if you.
Okay, thank you. I looked at the agenda action item, and the high school fencing along Gallup Hill Road for $56,210, that caught my eye.
Yep.
And I was wondering what kind of fence we're expecting to get for that money.
I believe they were planning to replace it with chain link, same as they have now.
Okay, I would like to make a suggestion that a commercial 6-foot high aluminum fence. My old high school is surrounded by a 6-foot aluminum commercial fence, black. And it really, really looks nice. And I know that they're more expensive, perhaps as much as twice the expense. But I'm a firm believer that structures that face the public property, structures that face public roads that are owned by the town or owned by the school should look really, really nice. And I have two concerns. One is I don't like chain link fences in general. We have a swimming pool that has a chain link fence around it, and I wish we had put a nice fence when we built the pool. They rust, the horizontal bars rust. They only look nice for 5 or 10 years, but they don't deteriorate fast enough to justify replacement for about, what, 35, 40 years, whatever it is. But they look raunchy in the meantime.
So, Eric, I'm going to cut you short because we're only going to discuss whether to fund this. And okay. I suspect, based on past conversations at finance, this is a formality. In the past, the finance committee has not been inclined to approve this expense because it's not in the capital plan. It has, I don't believe it's received an 824 review. So we are, I don't want to speak for the committee. So I'm going to say, in the event that we decide not to vote for this, I would recommend that you give your feedback to the Board of Ed and the Public Permanent Municipal Building Committee if and when the project moves forward. This is not really something the council has any authority over. This is a Board of Ed project. Yeah,
I understand. I just want to let it out that if we double the money, we could get something that looks really nice. And I think the public might even be willing to donate funds to make it look nice. So just that's just my opinion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't disagree. Thank you. Please let the record show also that Mr. Steve Juskowitz has joined. He is chair of the Permanent Municipal Building Committee. Have I missed anyone? Don't think so. Okay. Any other citizens wishing to speak? Hearing none. I would accept, I have one informational item. Let me read that to you. I probably should have sent it a long time ago. I received an email from Regina Brulot, who is our IT director. And this was early August. She reported that they have migrated to MFAX for the 3 fax lines that they still need to keep. And so far, so good. As of early August, that was going well. She said the adapters are in place, working well, a couple of hiccups, very sound solution. And she said she will have 3 lines removed from Frontier next week. And she's already had 3 other Frontier lines disconnected. The only remaining lines will be the 4 alarm lines for analog. And she is negotiating a lower monthly cost with them. So all good report. This is something that came from our budget meetings, looking at telecom expense and basically for multiple fax machines throughout town hall. And I will forward that over, Roxanne, so that there's a copy of it. Okay, I would accept a motion for approval, review and approval of the meeting minutes of July 21st.
So moved.
So moved. Oh, second, Counselor Ingalls.
Any comments, corrections?
Yeah, this is Counselor Tim Ryan. I have one correction on what page is this? I think it's page 6. Well, actually, it's page 3 of the minutes. When it's talked about the vote count, there's a little disconnect there. It says the vote was 201 approved and so declared. Ingalls abstained because she lost audio. But then down below it says I abstained. So in the result summaries.
Sounds like a pretty one-sided vote.
I think that just needs to be flipped. So.
Okay. Roxanne, you got all that? Okay.
Got it.
Good. Anything else? Comments, corrections? Ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, Counselor Ingalls.
Aye, Counselor Ryan.
And Councillor Soms votes aye as well, and the motion passes. Thank you very much. And Marcia, anything for the Finance Director's report?
I have the big item on the agenda tonight for end of year transfers, and then another transfer for the track and field. The audit is starting in earnest on September 20th, and we're in good shape for that this year. We will be having a request for the change to the purchasing ordinance. I don't know if anybody will remember, but last year, the auditors, following federal guidance, requested that, or said that it was necessary for us to include in our procurement documentation a recognition and adherence to the federal guidelines, federal requirements concerning payroll and other items that need to go into RFPs, language, and other things that the federal government requires when giving grants to municipalities. I thought we'd be good putting that in our grant procedures and policy, but that wasn't good enough. So we got called on that last year in the audit. They said it really needs to be in our procurement or purchasing documents. So that requires a change to that ordinance. And the mayor and I are working on that and should have it done pretty soon. And I assume that would go straight to admin. Is that correct?
Ordinances, yes.
Even though it's purchasing, would you all want to see it concurrently?
I think it should take a pass through finance before it goes to the admin. I think finance should give it a nod.
Okay.
So usually finance looks at when there's a multiple committee pass, finance usually looks last because there can be a final financial implication. So in this case, it wouldn't be. I mean, you put the wording in, you're done.
Okay.
So.
Although I did take the opportunity to change some other things too.
Oh, see that? So you probably ought to look at it first, Andra and Mary.
Yes.
Okay.
And then bring it to finance, just in case there are cost implications for the town.
Mm-hmm.
Which I suppose it could be, if we, to be in compliance, sometimes costs more money. Probably not in this case, but we'll see.
Well, you're absolutely right. There is more money, but because we're using grant money, like payroll, prevailing wages is one of them, one of the requirements,
Yep.
and other
Mm.
other things that would definitely cost more by adhering
Okay.
to those guidelines. So
And I believe we do adhere to the guidelines. It's just we have to print them in the ordinance, correct?
yes, we have to print them in the ordinance, show them in the ordinance, and then we took it one step further and have a sign off on that grant
Yep.
form that comes through finance anytime somebody needs to apply for a grant.
So are grant applications part of the purchasing ordinance, or was that a separate ordinance?
It's a separate form and policy, but it is
just the
not a
ordinance.
separate ordinance.
Just, yeah, okay, good.
But I think it's important to mention it in the ordinance.
Yep.
And refer to it.
Got it. Okay.
The grant document is actually a procedure or policy. It's not an ordinance, but it is a procedure.
I'm sorry, which is, Roxanne?
The grant document is a procedure.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Marcia. Anything else?
No.
Okay, and I think I neglected to mention that the mayor is and has been present right along, so apologies, Mayor.
Thank you. I don't want to be counted absent.
You're not. Okay, let's move on to old business. The first item is continued review and discussion regarding the fire apparatus replacement plan. And currently, we're in the process of scheduling a field walk for interested counselors to both fire stations, Ledyard and Gales Ferry. And that's scheduled for the 5th Wednesday in September at 5 p.m. We're going to spend about 45 minutes at each station, and I think 15 minutes in between to drive. And we'll be hosted by both departments. And my hope is we'll be lying under fire trucks and sitting in fire trucks and learning more than we know presently about our apparatus. So should be a good time and informational for all of us. A number of counselors have also indicated that they would be interested in participating too. And Steve Holyfield has joined us despite the weather in Meriden. And we also have Zach and Todd Willis. I can't remember if I mentioned that Todd Willis joined us, but let's move on to discussion. I don't have anything more to report. I want to do the field walk first, but guys, if you have news for us, we'd love to hear it.
I have actually a couple quick things for you, Bill, if I can get just 2 minutes. First off, we're very excited to host the counselors, and I will be there for the duration, and I would even offer if anybody has additional questions, I have no problem staying as late as anybody else wants to stay and talk fire trucks, because it's great to have the townspeople out, discussing these things and learning about these things. And we're very, very happy to open our stations up and talk about all this equipment and answer any questions that may come up. Second, when we first started talking about this plan and we went through the draft, I did mention that it was dynamic and fluid. And we had that conversation about how things break and things move around, and, there's always needs. Just as a heads up, and it's not anything that we have any alterations to the document yet, but we did find out during the preventative maintenance on Gales Ferry's rescue, it doesn't appear it's going to last the full 9 more years or 7 more years that it's supposed to be. The frame rails are definitely getting punky and thinner, and we're looking at failure of that apparatus a little bit sooner. So not necessarily any decision to make, but certainly something that the 2 chiefs and myself and especially the Gales Ferry line officers are going to be getting together on, to put our heads together to come up with a solution to try to make the plan work, or perhaps redraft a plan, or come up with some solution that gets the services that the town needs and the apparatus that the fire department needs to mesh correctly. It could involve something like replacement of the frame, or maybe there's a chance that the frame rails could be repaired, or there's a variety of different things that I think it's a bigger discussion after that, but we will certainly have some photos and If anybody wants to slide under and take a peek at that, I'm sure we'll have a creeper available. So, definitely go with the casual route, and we can have some good discussion on that as we move forward.
Excellent.
But, just in transparency, I wanted to make sure that that information was out there and let you guys know that it's still, in an infancy. And I actually spoke to the vendor yesterday about R11, and he, unfortunately, the lead mechanic up at Bulldog had been out with COVID, which, hey, I had been out with COVID too, so this happens. He's finishing up a couple repairs for like the hand throttle on the pump panel that was an issue. And he's hoping to have everything pump tested, and we may be looking at as early as next week on getting that apparatus back fully ready to go. And he said it runs beautifully. The motor runs fantastic, and they just weren't able to do the actual pump test because they were trying to get that communication between the throttle on the outside of the apparatus that the pump operator uses, communicating with the actual, engine. So we're getting really close on that. We're getting excited to get that apparatus back because it's been a long time since we've had it.
Yeah, that's great news. And I think in past conversations, you've also mentioned future purchases you would spec or require powder coating or undercoating frames in the future.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, when we started looking at R25 and when we were speccing out a new apparatus for R25 before we bought that demo, a lot of the manufacturers are starting to do lifetime frame rails. So whatever they're doing with their processes has been an improvement, so that when we're offering, hundreds of thousands of dollars on fire trucks, we're at least getting the opportunity to have a much better warranty and a much better service after the sale in terms of covering those things that we have issues with. Let's face it, we're in New England. We know the wear and tear that the salt that the state puts down on the roads has on metal and has on our vehicles, our own personal vehicles. And, the manufacturers are starting to come up with much more durable coatings and stand behind them. So I'm hoping longevity wise that the apparatus that we're buying in the, 2020 to 2030 range are going to have substantially longer lifespans because of those coatings.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? No? Okay. So thank you. And we'll look forward to seeing you at the end of the month. All three of you. Thank you. The next item is discussion on the capital improvement plan, CNR and the ARA funding. I just wanted to, I hope I have it here. I have a list of projects that, maybe I don't, bear with me. Can't remember what I did with it. Here it is. So this is a list of funding requests that I've been keeping, and I think I've shared with the mayor once. Have a slight update to it. So just keeping track of all the things that we're being asked to fund or may want to fund for the town with the ARPA funds. We've got approximately 4 million coming. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor. One request has been to fund an additional Council of Governors planner, government's planner. 7,100 per year for 4 years. The Southeast Connecticut Culture and Arts Coalition, a 1% allotment would cost us $21,000 out of our funding. Lead abatement is another possibility for the Nathan Lester House. That costs us $30,000 approximately. One that we know we want to spend money on if the project goes forward is the sewer line for Ledyard Center. And the update I have is that the sewer study is in. The projected cost of the sewer line is approximately $1.5 million. And there's a possibility of a 50% grant from DEC Communities Challenge, which would allow us to use 50% from ARPA funds as the matching to the 50% DECD grant, costing the town nothing and saving us half of that $1.5 million. Water mains we're considering. One suggestion has been extending Route 117 north to the transfer station so that we can do a better job washing down our equipment. And WPCA is asking Groton Utilities to look into the cost of these. Another one is a suggestion, I'm not sure it's a formal request yet, to put a main in on Oak Ridge Drive to 3 houses. And then the Route 12 connection, the interconnection with Norwich Public Utilities over the Puckatonic Cove Bridge will also be estimated to cost $1.45 million. and our share of that would be 50%. And then a suggestion, I think it was by Roxanne, if not Councilor McGrattan, that we consider replenishing the Housing Rehabilitation Fund, which is money that we have that we continually lend out. And when it's paid back, we get to replenish, or we replenish the funds. But as we lend these funds out, sometimes they have a long lead time. And when the homeowner sells the house or it passes on, and the loan becomes due, or the lien becomes due, it takes a long time to get that money back. So that was another suggestion. So Mayor, I'm keeping track of this, and Marcia, and if you have others, I'm happy to turn this list over to you if you want to add to it, or we can combine any way you want.
Yeah, what I was hoping, Bill, was, as you know, you've got 2 brief presentations at the next finance meeting, one from the Council of Governments regarding their request, and one from Ledgelight regarding their request. But prior to that meeting, I will send over to you the list, the working list that we have of items that may be under consideration by the town council for use of the ARPA funding. So we'll get that to you so that the list that we have running here can be merged with what you have, and make sure we have as complete a list as we can.
Great, thank you. And I should mention, for those interested, the reason we're looking at these projects specifically is because ARPA funds have many restrictions on what they can be used for. We can't just put it in the general fund or return it to the taxpayers. We've got to spend it on projects that qualify. The good thing is we don't have to apply. As long as it meets the criteria, we can spend the money. There's no waiting process to apply. Mayor, can you refresh our memory on when we have to have the money spent?
Yeah, so it has to be allocated, meaning kind of earmarked by December 31st of 2024, and it has to be physically spent and paid out by December 31st, 2026.
Excellent, excellent. Longer than I remembered. So that gives us plenty of time to consider these and weigh them. And we probably want to involve planning as well. Well, we definitely do. So that's all I have. Does anyone have any other thoughts or comments on ARPA funding?
Bill, can you just clarify something for me?
Sure.
The project you mentioned, 117 to the transfer station, that's a water main?
That would be water main, yes.
And so that's going up, so there's that sort of defunct driveway, is that what I'm understanding?
I'm sorry, the what driveway?
Where would the water main go?
Oh,
Where would it, where on?
It would probably run beside Al Clark Way, J. Alfred Clark Way, up to the.
All right, I got
transfers.
myself, I just got myself all confused with that weird defunct driveway that comes off of 117 and it goes up to the back of the lot, back of the transfer station. For some reason, I had that in my head and
You know
it wasn't
what?
adding up.
That might be a much better route now that you mention it. It's a straight shot. And no disturbing existing embankments and roadway. But there's no plan has been drawn up yet. I do recall from 2005 that at the time, the cost to go that far was $800,000. And I'm sure we'll see an escalation in that. Councilor Ryan, you had a question.
Oh, no, it was just a reiteration of a previous comment I had made. In general, when you're given one-time funds like this, grant funds, et cetera, things that are not going to be replenished, I'm always in favor of non-recurring expenses. Basically any project we can do that has a benefit to the town that doesn't have expenses down the line or significant expenses down the line, or if we choose to go that direction, we make that decision with those future expenses in mind, because too often we could find ourselves in a situation where we bought into something like this water line, for example. Well, the first question out of my mind would be, well, okay, have we looked at what the additional maintenance costs would be for that water line? And have we factored that into our operating budget?
Yep.
So that's where my head is at. And that's why, from a simplistic perspective, I just prefer expenses that are non-recurring, like the abatement stuff you talked about, the abatement programs. I mean, that's great. That's a great example of a non-recurring expense. It's something that benefits our community. But, you know, from that perspective, just hopefully the rest of the counselors share that perspective in that looking down the line, just want to make sure we keep those future expenses in mind.
Yeah, good point, Tim. And for years, we've looked at all gift money in the house or in the mouth and said, you know, what's this going to cost us down the road?
Right.
Everything that we buy has to be maintained. So there's not just the one-time cost. On the other hand, things like water mains are sometimes a non-avoidable expense. In other words, you can do it now or you can do it later, but at some point you'll do it as wells run dry, because as development occurs, there's only so much water in the ground. And we've had to do multiple very large projects in town because water either went bad or wells went dry, and so on and so on. So it is in one form a cost avoidance, in another form it's a maintenance cost that we're saddled to live with.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a negative. I'm just saying we make the decision fully educated, or as educated as we possibly can be.
And the WPCA does and has for a number of years now set aside money for future replacement. So when they bill for water, the water bill includes money that's set aside for maintenance as well as for future replacement. So the WPCA would accept these mains, and they would not cost the town anything more. They would then be fully borne by the ratepayers.
Okay.
Because WPCA is they can't make money, they can't lose money, but they have to cover their costs. So good point, good discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's all for ARPA. Is there any other old business to come before the committee? Hearing none, does anyone wish to amend the agenda under new business?
No.
Hearing none, I would accept a motion for the first item.
Counselor Ingalls, I move to approve Amendment 2021-1 to the retirement plan for full-time employees of the town of Ledyard.
Is there a second?
I see Tim saying it. I don't hear him.
Sorry,
saying it.
I was on mute.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
second by Counselor Ryan. Sorry about that.
Okay, so let me see if I can find this one. I'll just talk while I'm looking for it. The Public Works has one employee remaining,
Right.
who is eligible for the pension plan. The pension plan was ended. I've got to find this. Hang on, bear with me, please.
You want me to jump in, Bill?
Yeah, please.
Sure. So in 2007, the section requiring the rule of 85 was put into the pension plan. And it was probably the beginnings of let's tighten up the pension plan. And then in 2012, the plan was closed. So between 2007 and 2012, only one employee that was hired under that new requirement for the rule of 85 is still employed. There were no other employees who were hired or vested during that period of time that were impacted by that. The union asked during the negotiations this year if we would look at returning or taking that requirement away and let the single individual retire based on the rule of 82. So you have also attached here I asked for Siegel, who was our actuaries at the time, to review the proposal. And as you can see, their recommendation or their return was that the change was inconsequential. I think the term they used was it would have no material impact on the valuation of the plan. So I went to the pension board, explained to, the retirement board, talked to them about it. They have no issues with it. And then I asked Bruce Bart, our counsel, to draft the amendment, which is in front of you today.
Thank you, Don.
Sure.
So the website is slow, but thank you for explaining that. So any questions from the counselors?
John, can you remind me what the rule of 85 and rule of 82 is? I know I asked you to explain this to me last time.
Sure.
And it didn't stick in my.
So an employee can retire under the rule of 85 once they've reached a specific age and the number of years of employment. So if they're 55 years old, 55 years old and they've worked here 30 years, they can retire under full retirement.
Okay. Okay.
Likewise,
Got
a
it.
similar
Thank you.
operation with the rule of 82. So the individual who's impacted would now has to work at least a year and a half beyond the time frame that everybody else in the pension plan has to work to get his retirement.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Counselor Ryan, question?
All set.
No? Okay. All right, you guys ready to vote? All in favor,
Yes.
please say aye.
Counselor Ingalls votes aye.
Counselor Ryan votes aye.
And Counselor Solomon votes aye. The motion passes. Thank you very much. And thank you again, Don.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
I'll take this one. I move to authorize the Permanent Municipal Building Committee to use the high school track and multi-use field project surplus funds for the following. Add alternates enhancements, high school fencing along Guile Road for an estimated cost of $56,210. Replacement of the existing football scoreboard with a multi-sport scoreboard at a cost of $49,250.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Counselor Ingalls seconds.
Thank you. So we discussed this at a previous finance meeting and had some concerns I had some concerns. I think we were in consensus that these projects, while certainly have merit, they were not included in the SIP. I don't know if they have been through an 824 review, which is required and part of the SIP process, a part of the budgeting process. But since we didn't take a vote at the time, we thought it would be the right thing to do to actually discuss it and formally vote on this motion, and either it passes or it doesn't, just for the record, because there's a major amount of money and a lot of work done by the PMBC and a great deal of interest in these projects by the high school, as well as Parks and Recreation. So thoughts on the motion? Councilor Ingalls.
So I have a question. I'm glad, Steve Juskowitz, you're here. So Steve, can you help me understand the add alternate process? So my specific question is, how are the items on that list approved or rejected? Because I recall that the scoreboard and the fence were on the add alternates list, but then not accepted. So can you help me understand that process, protocol, and how it is that they were not accepted?
Yeah, the best way on this one is, as you know, thank you, Councilor Ingalls. Technically, they are no longer add alternates because our contract with Stone, who did the work, is actually now been closed out. We're done with the project. However, they were add alternates on the original bid submission that went out, and people bid on that. And as you recall, those bids came in higher than the original amount of money that was appropriated. As a result of that, the town council went back, did action, as did finance, to fund that project. And at the time, we were given enough money to do the basic project, but not the alternate items, which can be elected by the customer at the time the contract is let, or in some cases during the contract with a drop dead date where you have to accept this alternate by a certain date or it won't be within the contract. We elected not to accept any of the add alternates when we signed the contract for the track and field project. We did wind up adding in one add alternate during construction because it was a make or break. We had to make the decision that week because they were getting ready to cut the field. That was to add the word kernels into the field. But other than that, the other projects which could be separated from the project based on the funding situation at the time, what we knew with COVID, anticipated financial problems in the future. When this was ongoing, I spoke with Chairman of Town Council, Chairman Davis, and said, the PMBC, this is, while within the scope of the project, based on the good faith we had with the town council when we asked for the funds. It would be wrong for us to accept these and do them without going back to the council. So we did. There's no question that the chain link fence, as Mr. Treaster mentioned at the beginning, it's an eyesore. It looks bad now. But this is not really a PMBC project. The PMBC doesn't have projects. We're given projects by the town council for implementation. If they decide that they want this done, we have bids now. Those bids are now stale, so I can't say these prices are still good or not. The cost of materials has gone up considerably in the recent years with the building boom. We would have to validate the bids that we have and move forward from there. So the ad alternate process, these were ad alternates in the original project, so they were scoped. We already have plans for them as far as materials lists and those types of things. And in the case of the scoreboard, just to make sure everyone's clear, the intention was to take the existing scoreboard and relocate it to another town facility where Parks and Rec was going to take care of that move and installation. But that's basically the long answer to your question. I'll answer any more if you have any.
I have a follow-up question, and that's why was the chain link fence an ad alternate on that project and not in the SIP?
The reason for that is because when the project went out, there were a lot of variables on cost. So it is very, very common in projects to have ad alternates to prevent us from having to go out and get all new bids again. So for example, if all the bids come in too high, in this case, all the bids came in high, but in the case of, I'll go take you back to the police station, we had a series of ad alternates we put in the project because we wanted to keep the project on schedule. We didn't want to have to rebid. So for example, the steps that are between the police station and the town hall building, those and a few other things were ad alternates on the project. In that case, the bids came in very, very low, so we were able to accept them. In this case, when you dig in Ledyard, you don't know what you're going to find. And there was a tremendous amount of digging that had to be done for the police station across that field. And we had concern about contingencies popping up and eating into that money. And I believe that you were at that meeting, Councilor Ingalls, as were other members of the council, when Chairman Dombrowski came right out and said, if you run out of money in this project, you're not getting any more. So we took that to heart. And so now at this point here, the Board of Ed indicated that they would like to have these things done, but they were not going to specifically ask for them individually. And our Board of Ed reps on the PMBC at the time indicated that they were still desired to be done. However, when we got those bids back, that was not the time to be doing anything more than the work that had to be done to keep the field from being condemned. If you remember, the track was not able to be used at all. And we had drainage issues and other issues with the field. But the scoreboard and the fence could be replaced at any time as part of any other project or through Board of Ed normal, their normal CNR or whatever fund they're going to take that out of. So I hope that answers that.
Great. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Juskowitz. Other questions and comments?
Steve, you mentioned that the bids were stale. How old are those bids? I'm just curious.
And so I believe those bids are now over a year old, although we did have contact with some of those vendors afterwards back in the March timeframe, where we had, in some cases, still had them willing to honor those bids, but now that period has now lapsed. We'd have to probably get new bids or ask them to honor their old bid. We have to go to every single person that bid on it and ask them to honor their old bid. And otherwise we can run afoul of the town's purchasing ordinance. So at this point here, back to what Mr. Treaster was saying as I dialed in, perhaps the best answer is not to rush to this, to come up with a better long-term plan. I will tell you that one of the things we were looking at on this particular was to use the vinyl coated black chain link fence as opposed to the it rusts shortly after installation galvanized metal, even though it's not supposed to rust because it's galvanized. But it's in, my understanding is it has not been brought up as a security issue, even though the fence is in poor repair as is in the gate. But then again, those, access to the field is, that gate there is not a keep people out gate, it's a keep cars out gate. You can just walk right on the field anytime you want. So it's not really a security issue unless the police come out and say that it is. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Other questions? I'll just add my thoughts about Mr. Treaster's comment. One of my concerns with replacing that fence, and I honestly, I think we need to do it. It looks horrible. But one of my concerns is how quickly a replacement fence would end up looking just like the one we have. And black vinyl coating is one way to avoid that. But unfortunately, kids climb fences, and you can see from the one we have where people have climbed it repeatedly. And even though there's a pole at the top of the chain link, those are long stretches, they sag, they're bent, it gets out of line. And I would hate to see a $56,000 fence end up looking like the one we have, just not rusty, 3 to 5 years later. So I think it would be a good idea to look at other forms of fencing. And again, this isn't, I'm not directing my comments to you, Mr. Juskowitz. I think they should go to the Board of Ed. And they should be considering total cost and total life.
Which is one more thing, Mr. Soms, to add in. If climbing on the fence is a concern, there, razor wire is an option. However, I don't recommend it. And that is always an option, and it's not that expensive, actually, except from a liability standpoint.
Yeah, a little hard on the hands.
Yes, it is. But people won't climb it.
Yeah, and we will need a new scoreboard. It's a multi-sport field with a single sports scoreboard, easy for me to say. So my hope is that if this is not passed tonight, that both projects go into the SIP, get reviewed, prioritized, get their 824 review, and that we fund them at some time in the future. So any more comments or concerns? Questions? Councilor Ryan? You're just waiting for a vote. Okay. Well, you guys ready for a vote? Please say aye. Those in favor?
You're asking if.
Yeah.
Wait. What are
I'm
you-
sorry, I said that wrong. Those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please say no.
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 And Councilor Soms votes no. That's 3 of us, so the motion fails. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
So Bill, I want
Yeah,
to just reiterate, I think I'm just of the same mind that I have been for months and the last time we talked about this. These are good and necessary projects, and so therefore it's difficult to say no. But in some ways, I think we're just voting no out of because there's a better path forward, a more appropriate path forward. I think we all want to see the scoreboard, but to your point, last time we talked about this project must be considered in the pool with the whole.
You're absolutely
And
right.
so, so that's why I think, so we all want a new fence. We all want to see a great new scoreboard, but we have to do it differently than this.
Yeah, this is a matter of process. That's all it is, following the right process.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, next item, please.
Where are we? Item 4, is
4.
that where we are?
Yep.
Councilor Ingalls, I make a motion to approve end of.
Item 3.
Oh, item 3. Wait,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep. It's item 3.
oh, wait. Oh, to
Yeah.
remove the surplus.
Okay.
I was thrown off. Okay. So I make a motion to transfer Ledyard High School track and field project surplus in the amount of $162,474.46 back to the town's general fund with an effective date of June 30th, 2021 as follows. Debit account number 210-90305-59300. CNR transferred funds for $162,474.46. Credit account 101-9502-49002. General fund transfers in for $162,474.46, and decrease appropriation to account 210701001-58259 by $162,474.46.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. So this is moving the money back into the general fund because it is surplus from the project. So it will sit in the surplus fund, in the general fund, until we decide to do something else. Mrs. Hancock.
I just wanted to point out that it is going back, it is going to the general fund because that's where it originally came from, and will flow into fund balance, which is where it came from.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Councilor Ryan
Counselor
votes
Ingalls
aye.
votes
And Counselor Sones votes aye, and the motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item, which is number 4, please.
I move to approve end of year transfers in a total amount of $96,782.10 as follows. Debit account 1011025 TAC 52100 Healthcare Board of Education for $75,441.62. Credit account 1011001 TAC 53610 Town Council Legal Services for $9,699.49. Credit account 101100205 TAC 53610 Specially Approved Counsel for $11,640.99. Credit account 101100301 TAC 51700 Registrar's Wages for $885.48. Credit account 1011201 TAC 56100 Finance Operating Expenses for $873.76. Credit account 1011213 TAC 54421 Tax Refunds for $70,489.23. And finally, credit account 101300301 TAC 51610 Youth Services Director for $3,193.15.
You got the
Counselor
long one.
Ingalls
Thank you.
Counselor Ryan, that is how we haze the new members of the Finance Committee. You're welcome.
That's okay.
Was there a second in there somewhere, Counselor Ingalls?
No, just hazing.
It's easy. Okay, so this is something we do every year at the end of the year. This is the end of the fiscal 2020-21 year, which ended June 30th. We adjust accounts where we overspent and underspent. And the good news is we had a general government surplus of $600,000 approximately. And I'm just noticing something. In the motion, Roxanne, did that get updated in the debit account for the Board of Ed from 75,000?
I was just going to ask Marcia the same thing because it looks like the debit amount is not correct.
Right, it needs to be $96,782.10.
So would the mover accept that as a friendly amendment?
Yes, I will take that as an amendment.
Thank you.
I was just noticing that the math was off.
Yeah. So the Board of Ed had savings in healthcare of $96,782.10, which we're reapplying to the other accounts which had overages. And yet, at the end of the year, literally, we had a general government surplus of around 600,000.
That surplus will actually be higher now that you approved the track and field transfer. And also, I just want to point out that the Board of Ed surplus for last year is projected to be around 230,000.
Excellent.
And also, other good news, we had projected in the budget revenue coming in from the mill rate stabilization fund and the healthcare fund at about 1.4 million. And we did not have to tap into either of those funds. So that is very good news.
The last note you had there that the mill rate stabilization fund increased to 2.135 million, result of new premiums from the bond sales and band sales. So all very good news for the taxpayers. So questions or comments from the counselors? All in favor, please vote aye.
Counselor Ingalls, aye.
Counselor Ryan votes aye.
Counselor Solomon votes aye, and the motion passes. Thank you, and thank you, Marcia and Mayor. Next item, please.
I make a motion to appropriate Cable Television Advisory Council of Southeastern Connecticut, CTA CSC 2021 grant in the amount of $2,813 to CNR account 2101-2151-57310, the MIS replacement equipment, to be used to purchase equipment to improve video streaming and support hybrid meetings in the council chambers.
Is there a second?
Second from Counselor Ryan.
Thank you. So it looks like we are going to get some really cool equipment for the council chambers because we are contemplating having hybrid meetings where some people may be at home, counselors may be at home or remote, others may be in person, or we may have a regular council meeting. We just want to have a participant join us. This equipment includes a camera, which looks, I think, 3 or 4 different directions. So it's a panorama of the entire council chamber, so we don't have to have a person turning the camera. Also includes speakerphone, which is compatible with the new phone system. It's an IP telephone system in the cloud. This is a Jabra speakerphone, replacing what we used to use, which was an old Polycom device. So it requires no match. So, oh, and also there's a computer to power the whole darn thing. So Mayor, anything more on this?
No, just the last thing was, it was about 10 years ago that we got the last CTAS grant that provided the equipment that we have now. So as you can imagine, in 10 years, technology has changed pretty dramatically. So we should see a very nice improvement when this equipment is in place.
Absolutely. Questions?
I just have one question, and this is just more for my education. So for small purchases like this, is there a preferred vendor that we go with for equipment like this?
Not really. MIS uses Tiger Direct, and they use CDW for a lot of their tech needs. But that being said, we look around. I mean, we're not afraid to purchase from Amazon with our Amazon business account. So we always look for the best deal on whoever's got the equipment that we're looking for at the best price.
All right. Yeah, I just didn't know if there was an opportunity for a local business, perhaps, but I don't have any particular one in mind. I'm just saying, keeping the money local. But
yeah, we do that a good bit on Public Works. Specifically uses local contractors for things anytime we can, and some of that's taking place with our STEEP grant right now, using some local contractors, but in some other cases, like suppliers of the actual technology, probably less so in this instance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Guys ready to vote?
Yep.
All in favor, please say aye.
Counselor Ryan votes aye. Sorry.
That's okay.
So, Counselor Ingalls?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry, I thought I was on the record already. Yeah,
I think you both
Counselor
spoke at the
Ingalls
same
votes aye.
time.
We did. Aye.
Thank you. And Counselor Solomon votes aye, and adding those up, I come to 3. So the motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item, please.
Where are we at? Number 6. Tim, you want to take that one? The tax
Yeah.
refund?
Sure. Sorry, I lost my place.
Yeah, I moved my place off.
All right, I move to approve 2 tax refunds in the combined total amount of $10,787.46 with each exceeding $22,400 in accordance with tax collector departmental procedures.
Is there a second?
Counselor Ingalls second.
Thank you. So both of these were double paid by the mortgage company and the homeowner. And because they exceed the departmental $2,400, they have to come to the council for approval. So we've got all the proper signatures from staff, and I think they are both ready for a vote. So all in favor, please say aye.
Counselor Ingalls votes aye.
Counselor Ryan votes aye.
As does Counselor Solms. Thank you very much. And I believe that's our last item. Yes, it is. Okay, so we will, I guess I should ask for a motion to adjourn. I never do, so I'll start with tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
All you,
So
Audra.
We're adjourned at 5:55 without exception. Thank you all. Have a good night.
All right.
Thank you.
Everybody, see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you.